Hi everyone, my name is Laura and today we are going to be making some imperfect Wabi Sabi heart art today that sort of looks like this. This is mine, so yours is going to be completely different and unique to you. And we are going to be using the Japanese concept of Wabi Sabi, which is embracing imperfection. So I hope you enjoy making your imperfect project and stick around. Okay, so to get started with our perfect imperfect heart craft today, we're gonna take our kit that we have here, and we're gonna open it up. Kind of dump out all the stuff that's inside. There's quite a bit of stuff in here. And set that paper bag off to the side. So we have our little mini canvas here that we're gonna use to make our art on. We have some espresso powder, some cheesecloth, some different colors of paint. So we've got pink, orange, and like a gray silver here. We have some tissue paper, so we have pink and orange. And then this is Mod Podge, so this is what we use to sort of glue things down. We have a foam brush and a couple different things. We have some examples of hearts so that you can kind of copy these if you like. You can't really trace or anything. I guess you could, but if you wanted to cut them out. But since this is imperfect, we don't really need to do that. So you can use these as an example. We have a piece of book paper so that you can add some words if you like. And then we have our instructions that we can follow along with in order to make our heart. So I do have a few other things here. I've got some water that we're gonna add to our espresso powder for, just to use. I've got some table salt, so this is optional, but if you have some at home, it does add some texture to it, so I just have some regular salt. I have a couple of different paint brushes so that if I want to, I can use them, but they are not required. I have a couple of lids that I can use to make circles or you know, whatever on there, kind of like you see on here, there's some circles, so I have some lids to make those kinds of shapes. You can also use like actual stamps, or you can use other shapes that you have to make rectangles, squares, you know, whatever. And then I also have a pair of scissors, so you'll want those if you want to cut something out, but it's up to you. I don't know if I'll cut anything other than maybe the cheesecloth or something. So the first thing that we're gonna do is tear a piece of paper or book paper. Oh, and some paper towels. You're probably gonna want some paper towels. So I'm gonna tear up my book paper kind of roughly so that, you know, I get some kind of rough edges. Pick out a few pieces that I like. And sorry, I didn't really look at the paper or at the book, so if there's anything inappropriate on there, I'm sorry. Flip it over and maybe it'll be okay on the other side. So I'm gonna kind of rip up some pages. I think that's, we'll do a little bit more. And I'm not gonna cover the whole thing, so you won't really need the whole paper. But I just added some, set aside some that I thought looked nice, a couple. And then you can take your canvas. So these are gonna sort of be in the background, so it's not like a huge deal if you can't see them super well. So I'm gonna go ahead and sort of stick them on there like that. I have more, but this is what I'm gonna use. So I'm going to use my Mod Podge. I'm going to open up the white container. If you have white paint and white, you might also have Mod Podge and white paint, depending on which kit colors you have. The Mod Podge, if you open it up, you'll kind of see it's kind of closer to the consistency of like Elmer's glue, so it's a little bit more see-through. So you can take your foam brush that you have, and I would probably just put it directly on the canvas, the piece that you have. Doesn't matter if you have extra on the canvas. And then kind of, I don't know, I'm gonna cover mine up. I'm doing this at the same time. This is my first time doing this, so I'm just gonna, you might not want to cover it in any glue if you want it to have sort of an aged look, because otherwise the espresso water won't really do much to it. So we've got those on there, and then we're gonna let those dry. Okay, so while that's drying, I'm not really gonna let it dry. I think it's probably fine without drying. I'm going to sort of tear up my tissue paper, and you can crumple it up if you wanna give it some more texture. So I'm gonna just sort of place it. I'm not gonna glue it down yet. I'm just gonna experiment and see where I like it. So I'm gonna kind of wrap it over the edges a little bit. So just as an FYI, your kit should also have a book list in it, and that is all about Wabi Sabi. So Wabi Sabi is a Japanese concept, and it is the concept of embracing imperfection. So a lot of common some common kind of stuff for that is an art form called, I'm probably gonna say it wrong, but it's an art form where if you have like a piece of broken china or something that's broken, you can repair it, but you repair it with gold leaf so that all the cracks are filled in with gold. And so it sort of enhances the look of it, and also really embraces that imperfection and makes it beautiful all on its own. So that's kind of the concept of Wabi Sabi. That's why we're not really worrying about getting this absolutely perfect, because nothing is perfect. I think we probably all know that. And on top of that, like, there's nothing wrong with like imperfection. It's good to have some different things and imperfections, because that's what makes you unique and you. So oftentimes art or china or bowls or anything like that that have been repaired using that gold leaf are far more valuable than the bowl itself, because of the art that was sort of put into making it unique. So you'll notice that when you sort of glue down the tissue paper, since tissue paper is pretty thin, you'll be able to, if you put it on top of your book pages, you'll be able to see your book, your words underneath. I'm just gonna stick those on. You can use your fingers too. I use my fingers a lot when I'm doing things, so you can also use them to paint later on, so I'll show you how to. I probably won't paint with my fingers, but you can. Since I'm sort of overlapping, I'm also gonna stick it down to the side. So Mod Podge is really great. If you've done any of our other projects with us, you might have done a Mod Podge project here and there. Mod Podge is sort of like glue, but the nice thing is that it also has a finish to it. So when we're all finished with this, we probably won't finish it with the Mod Podge layer, but if we wanted to protect it, we could. I'm just gonna do this part over here. Okay. All right, so now we can add some paint. You might also want to have like a paper plate or something so that you can use that. Since I have some paper towels, I'm probably just going to use those, and I will use those to sort of make my shapes. I'm going to set this tissue paper off to the side. I probably can still use it later. So right now I'm gonna focus on my hearts and my shapes that I want to put on there. So for the hearts, you can just use either your brush, you can use the edge of your foam brush, you can use your finger. I'm not going to use my finger, but you can look at your you can also look, probably a good idea to let this dry. But I am just gonna start painting. It's not gonna hurt it that much. So I am going to use this little brush right here. I'm gonna look at my examples of different types of hearts here, and I'm just gonna draw one free form. It's not like it really, I can't make it wrong, right? Because we're doing Wabi Sabi, so. If you want to fill it in, you can. If you just want to leave it open, I'm going to fill this one in. Obviously, you don't have to do hearts if you don't want to. That's completely up to you. But I don't know, I recommend it. Doesn't hurt anything. Okay, so I went and got some water so that I could rinse off my brush. And I also got a paper plate. So now I'm gonna use some of the orange. I'm gonna make kind of a long, skinny one. I do a little one over here. Okay, I kind of like that. I might do one more pink one and do a little one that's just an outline. All right, so I've got my hearts. Probably a good idea to let this dry for a few minutes, so I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I let it dry for a couple of minutes, and you can see I've got my hearts dry and my Mod Podges dry. So now we can kind of do our shapes. So I'm mostly gonna use circles since that's what I've got. Just got two different size lids here. I am going to use probably this gray paint. So I'm gonna pour a little bit out. Oops. And I might use my big one first. If it's sort of globby, it doesn't matter. Again, we're looking for imperfection. So, since this one's kind of big, I don't want to go overkill. So I'm probably gonna stop there. And then I'm gonna do my little one. And okay, and I might do, I can't help myself, I might do a little bit in a different color, so I'm probably going to use this pink. Oops. I'm not even going to clean it off. Okay, and then I'm gonna do just one little thing with this orange. Just remember, this is acrylic paint, so it is permanent paint. So if it gets on you or on your clothes, it'll stain. So just keep that in mind. All right. Kind of touched it with my finger there, that's okay. All right, I think I'm good with the shapes on there now, so I'm gonna set those off to the side. I'm gonna wipe off my fingers a little bit so that I don't accidentally put it on my clothing. So now I've got those done. So now we're gonna let those dry for a few more minutes. So I'm gonna put it back underneath. So while that's drying, let's play with our cheesecloth a little bit. So it's kind of in 2 layers. It's really thin material. It's used to sort of, you know, to strain things. That's what the word I'm looking for. So you might want to figure out how big you want it on your piece before you do anything, and then you can fray it a little bit, pull at it a little bit so that it is sort of mixed up a little bit. And I kind of like that a little bit. Okay. And then we're gonna take our little thing of espresso powder here. I'm gonna pour a little bit onto the lid. I know on the instructions it says a packet, but I don't really have a packet, or I didn't buy packets for this, so I just put them in these little cups. So I'm gonna pour a little bit out onto the lid in case we wanna use it to sprinkle on later. And then I just have my little squeeze bottle, and I'm just gonna add some water to it. It doesn't necessarily need to be too. And then I'm gonna mix it up. And think that's good. I don't want it to get too diluted. So I'm gonna sort of set that off to the side a little bit, and then I'm gonna go grab my, okay, so this is mostly dried now. So I have my cheesecloth, and I'm gonna use that to sort of, probably gonna use a little bit of Mod Podge just to set it down on there. You can also cut this up into other shapes if you want, but I sort of left it in a square. I just sort of mushed it around a little bit. And then I'm gonna use my scissors. And I'm just gonna cut another piece, a strip of it. I'm gonna sort of put that across the edge. Whatever you feel like, do it. I mean, you know, there's no really wrong way to do this. We're just experimenting and making art, and art is not symmetrical, and it's not perfect, and it's not, it doesn't always make sense. So, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just making something to celebrate, I don't know, I guess Valentine's Day, but you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to do hearts on here if you don't want to. You can also use anything you have at home. So if you have other paint, or if you have other shapes, like I said, if you have stamps, or if you have something else that you want to use, you can do that too. I'm going to use this other brush right here to add, and I'm going to put it on top of this paper towel. And I'm gonna sort of dip this in here. Actually, if you want to use your Mod Podge or your brush, your foam brush, that might be easier since you have. Just make sure you rinse it off first. Oops. If you want your Mod Podge or your espresso powder to be a little lighter, you can do that. You just add more water to it, basically. I'm gonna kind of pat it on there. Make sure you get around the edges. And if you have some little spots, this is where either that table salt or your extra espresso powder will come into play. So if you want, you can just sort of sprinkle that. If there's water sitting there, you can even make like a little puddle and it'll sort of give it that extra look. So I'll try that again. Got a little bit of a puddle there. And the espresso powder will sort of soak up that a little too much there. You might want to use your finger. If there's too much water still sitting there, you can use a little piece of paper towel, soak it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna do it again, but this time I'm gonna use the table salt. So I'm gonna do it sort of over here on my okay. My heart's got a little bit covered up. I'll move my salt around a little bit so that you can see at least a couple of my hearts. So we've got our little pink one down here and then our orange one right here. This one ended up being a little... No, maybe I'll cut a little bit of this off. Actually, I like that. All right, so once you're happy with it, you can also go back and add more shapes. You can add another heart on top if you want. You know, however you want to do it, that's completely up to you. Just can't help myself. I just keep playing with things. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it now. Okay, so yeah, whenever you're finished, you can just leave it, let it dry for a little while, and then put it under a fan, whatever, and then you can hang it up. You can also take off your some of your netting or your cheesecloth if you want, if you decide you don't like it, or you know, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. If you're just gonna do a bunch of different stuff, I would recommend letting it dry in between so that your stuff will actually stick. So, all right, well, I'm happy with mine, so I am going to leave it be, and I'm going to enjoy and embrace the concept of Wabi Sabi so that I enjoy imperfection in this project and every project that I do. So I hope you had a good time and enjoyed making your Wabi Sabi heart project. And if you would like, you can email us pictures of your project at that's email email library LIBRARY at avondaleaz.gov. I don't know if I said that right earlier, but I'll put it up on the screen, so use that. That'll be the most accurate one. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this project. Next month we'll have a whole new project for you guys to do, and I can't wait to see you guys. Just as a reminder, we are still doing in-person programming on the third Tuesday of the month for teens, and on actually it's the third and the fourth Thursday of the month for teens at each of our branches. And I have put up a flyer on the screen so you can see all of our teen programming that we have between our two libraries, so please check that out. And our adult programming will be at the Sam Garcia Library on the fourth Sunday of the month. Please call or email us to register for those programs. I hope you enjoyed your project. Thanks. Bye-bye.